Hi everyone, it's Rman here, and today I will tell you why this banner is actually a massive bait by IS and rank the new hero type and twinned heroes, and then I will analyze each unit individually and share my other thoughts of the banner at the end. So first, this banner is massive bait just because a new OP emblem hero is coming in just a week, and I really think that it will be Emblem Roy, who will give everyone Valley type miracle, and we'll see. So I really think that you should manage your orbs well and try not to use orbs until the end of the month. And also, the special hero type, you can see how low I ranked the newest special hero type in Twin Heroes at the bottom of C tier, almost at the bottom, just a bit higher than Aided Heroes, because in Twin Heroes, when you summon Entwined Heroes like Entwined Ash, you only get a Banquet that allows S plus support, and the S plus support only gives you a few more stats than the normal S support that you can get by getting the summoner's support. And it really is just a minor improvement, much like Aided Heroes. And in some cases, Aided Heroes actually look a bit cooler with the special accessory you can get from Aided Heroes, like Aided Yunaka, the cat from Aided Yunaka. But in Twin Heroes, only just give the S plus support, and the effects aren't really that crazy. And of course, at the top of the special hero type are emblem heroes who can give a special emblem engaged effect to any heroes at any time, and you do not need to fodder any emblem hero to get that emblem effect. You just need to press the engage title screen. You just need to choose the engage screen and then just choose which hero you want to engage with, and you don't need more than one of the same emblem hero in order to like maybe use the same emblem effect twice, and that is better. So therefore I rank emblem heroes higher than attuned heroes or rearmed heroes. And you can see the guidelines for my special hero type tier list here if you are interested. And to add, Entwined Ash is also slightly mid as an Omni tank, and is mainly just another support unit that is quite good because she is the only unit in the game that gives the Briar effect support, and the seventh DR is very common nowadays. And however, the Briar effect support is definitely quite unique to Entwined Ash, and she does serve some purpose, but the Briar effect is basically just a weaker reflective damage support. So if there's the legendary Black Knight who gives out reflective damage reflex, then the Briar effect is just less good, and Twin Ash is definitely outclassed by the legendary Black Knight again. And you can see that she is also quite mid as an Omni tank, and I only rank her in B tier, and I think she is a little bit worse than Rion Machua even, because Rion Machua at least has Vantage and has a chance to survive and defeat young Camilla because of the built-in Vantage effect in her kit. And Twin Ash really just it has a bit of bulk, and Twin Ash has a little bit of bulk, but if you're going up against really S tier or A tier melee nukes, then Twin Ash definitely just folds immediately, and she doesn't stand a chance against the strongest melee nukes or strongest range nukes in the game. So mainly you will only want her for her support, but even her support isn't really top tier and is only good. So to be fair, you should not be summoning on this banner just for Entwined Ash. And here is my guidelines for the newest Omni Tank tier list, and I will talk more about this tier list in a later part of this video. So therefore, although Attuned Ryoma is a great Omni tank and Rearmed Hinoka has OP fodder, the Emblem Hero banner is likely more valuable than this banner. So you should definitely save orbs. And if you're still unsure, then you should definitely keep watching and for a more detailed analysis and ranking for each hero on the banner. So first we will start with Attuned Ryoma. So Attuned Ryoma is a really special unit because if you look at his base kit, he actually does not have normal true damage. He only has true damage during specials. He only has special true damage. That is what I'm saying. So if he is using his normal attacks to attack enemies, then he is basically going to do 0 damage if the enemy has enough flat DR. And in the modern meta, almost everyone in the game has at least 20 flat DR, and a lot of the modern better units like A tier or S tier melee nukes even have 30 flat DR. And if with 0 true damage, Attuned Ryoma is going to do 0 damage if he does not proc his special. But what makes him good is actually his special effect, the reflective damage built in his base kit B skill. So his private B skill gives him reflective damage, and that's where most of his damage output is coming from. And also he also has a lot of true damage when he procs his special. So he has about 50-50 special true damage, which is very good. So if Attuned Ryoma actually procs his special, then he will actually do a lot of damage. But you need to make sure that Attuned Ryoma can trigger his special, and if you are using his base kit, then that will be Gus. And take a look, and we will take a look at his flat DR. So Attuned Ryoma is designed as a speed type Omni tank, and he has quite a lot of flat DR actually, and he has a maximum of about 37 flat DR if he doesn't initiate combat, and if he initiates combat, he will get 45 flat DR plus 40% unpierceable DR, and also the 10 special flat DR, which are all very good for an Omni tank unit in the modern meta. And he will most likely survive against a lot of threats, and he might be able to even tank the legendary Black Knight. That's how much flat DR he has, and his about flat DR is similar to that of male Byleth. And if he is initiating combat, then Attuned Ryoma actually has more flat DR than Brave Byleth. So Attuned Ryoma is definitely a really tanky unit, and after looking at his base stats, I will also talk a bit about what other effects does he have. So as I mentioned, he also has the reflective damage, and he has distant counter, no guard, phantom speed, which is irrelevant, no cooldown +1 on the foe, which is good but not very important. And he also gives up the 2 spaces dodge, no follow-up, fringe bonus, no debuffs, and some defense res stat bonuses at start of both turns, if I remember correctly. And the fringe bonus and the no follow-up are 2 highlights of his supportive effects, and the fringe bonus is definitely a very good status introduced by Brave Ekfamir first, and the fringe bonus is really good. So to put this strong effect on an Omni tank like Attuned Ryoma definitely makes him even better. And Attuned Ryoma, if you are using his base kit, also has the Bulwark effect, the 7 HP post-combat healing, and the movement +1 and Canto distance +1 max 4 from the newest Echo skill. I forgot the name of the Echo skill. Wait a second. So the name of the Echo skill is Tumultuous. Okay, Tumultuous. I'll read it as Tumultuous Echo. The Tumultuous Echo skill is basically just Brutal Tempest, but as an X skill, or an Echo skill, and it is good. It's definitely good and makes Attuned Ryoma a good melee nuke threat. And he also has the Hoshido Raijinto style, which makes him basically makes him into a brave Erica without the emblem Sigurd ring, and he can walk 3 spaces and attack at 2 range every turn for once only, and it also helps Attune Ryoma to get a follow-up attack more easily because the new style from in Attune Ryoma's space kit also lets him follow up more easily as it has the reverse frozen effect inside the style. So all in all, Attune Ryoma is a really good Omni tank, and he definitely has nuking potential. And now I will talk a bit about why he is good and some maybe possible disadvantages or some possible drawbacks that his base kit has. So as I mentioned before, I think the main problem that Attune Ryoma has is that he does not have normal true damage. He only has the special true damage, and that only triggers when he triggers his special, and you need to make sure that Attune Ryoma is triggering his special if you want him to do damage. Either that, or you need to tank with Attune Ryoma. Attune Ryoma has the reflective damage built in his base kit, and mainly if you're not triggering his special Gust, then Attune Ryoma really needs to rely on the reflective damage in his base B skill in order to do damage and in order to defeat foes after omni tanking them, and that is easy enough because most modern enemies do a lot of damage, but contradictory. And if you think of it in another way, then Attune Ryoma actually does not defeat like older enemies because, for example, maybe Emblem Ike. Emblem Ike has the forced desperation effect on the foes, and when Attune Ryoma tries to attack Emblem Ike and he does not trigger his special, then basically he does not have the true damage because he is not triggering his special Gust, and Emblem Ike will make Attune Ryoma use up all of his no true damage attacks, and the reflective damage from Attune Ryoma's base kit cannot be triggered because he does not even get to have a chance to attack an Emblem Ike after Emblem Ike finally attacks. So, and if Attune Ryoma does not have enough base damage, like because if he is not triggering his special, he does not have true damage. So he will only rely on his basic attack and maybe the buff stats to do damage against Emblem Ike. And Emblem Ike will probably just tank all of Attune Ryoma's hits, and he will survive Attune Ryoma, and possibly maybe Emblem Ike cannot defeat Attune Ryoma, but Attune Ryoma cannot defeat Emblem Ike in the player phase. And even in enemy phase, he still cannot defeat Emblem Ike because of the forced desperation effect in Emblem Ike's space kit. So this makes it really weird for Attune Ryoma because Attune Ryoma has as I said, Attune Ryoma has the reflective damage, and he has a lot of flat DR. So if he survives against modern enemies, like for example maybe the latest Arena Lucina or Marth, and even maybe some Brave Byleth, sometimes Attune Ryoma can tank Brave Byleth if he is supported well enough. And if he survives against modern melee threats like what I've said before, Brave Byleth and Arena Marth or Lucina, then he will most likely defeat them in his counterattack because of the reflective damage. So this makes Attune Ryoma really special because if he survives against modern enemies, then he will most likely defeat them in the counterattack, and he will be successfully omni-tanking against most modern enemies, but he cannot omni-tank against some of the older enemies who do very little damage and maybe have guard in their base kit, and maybe that includes Marnie. He might not be able to tank Marnie, Omni tank, successfully defeat Marnie in the counterattack because Marnie might not have enough damage outputs to really make the reflective damage that useful or that powerful. Reflective damage is only powerful when your enemy is doing a lot of damage. So if Attune Ryoma is going up against someone who does very little damage and he cannot proc his special, then basically Attune Ryoma cannot do damage. So this really makes it really weird for Attune Ryoma, where Attune Ryoma might not be able to perform consistently against some of the older units. But if you put Attune Ryoma against modern units, then he will absolutely destroy them, which is really weird and really special. But if you think about the modern meta, everyone is forced to run the modern units, or else they can't take care of the modern threats like Brave Ekremir or maybe Brave Byleth or Young Camilla, etc. So they need to use the modern units in order to keep up. So basically no one would actually run the older units. So maybe this so-called problem by Attune Ryoma isn't really that much of a problem because everyone is running modern units, and Attune Ryoma will basically destroy everyone with his reflective damage. So maybe this is just a small worry by me, but I think the weird inconsistency against older units by Attune Ryoma is really weird. But other than that, Attune Ryoma is also missing a very key effect, that is the no counter disrupt effect, no NCD. And if you're using Attune Ryoma as an Omni tank, then you really need him to have NCD supported. Like for example, you need to use Fallen Female Allir or Fallen Male Allir to give Attune Ryoma the Fail Spirit support to get the no NCD effect to counterattack against enemies who have the Wind Sweep effect, etc. and really perform consistently as an Omni tank and successfully defeating enemies that initiate combat. So Attune Ryoma is definitely missing the key effect NCD, and as long as he has that, Attune Ryoma will basically become a really good Omni tank, and maybe even as good as Dual Morph even. But however, he needs to outsource NCD, so that is the main problem of Attune Ryoma. And if you're thinking of using him as a melee nuke, then he also faces some sort of problems because, as I said earlier, he only has special type true damage, so he needs to trigger his special in order to have his true damage. And if he is going up against enemies that have a lot of scowl, then he might not be able to trigger his gust special, and he fails to get the true damage from his base kit, and that is really a problem. But he also has the reflective damage, so you might not need to worry so much about that part. And he really just relies on the reflective damage in order to defeat enemies. But this leads to another problem because some of the enemies may have Miracle, and in Attune Ryoma's base kit, he doesn't have any potent attacks. So you need to give him Erica Ring in order to defeat foes that have the Miracle effect if you want to use him as a player face nuke. And if you equip Attune Ryoma with the Erica Ring, then he does not need to worry about foes with the Miracle effect. So all in all, Attune Ryoma may have some drawbacks that limit his peak for performance, but they can all be outsourced by modern supportive units like maybe Fallen Male Allir, Fallen Female Allir, or even some of the other supportive units that give respective effects. And really, Attune Ryoma is a really good unit that can function well as an Omni tank and also as a melee nuke, mainly because of his reflective damage, and he has a lot of flat DR. So Attune Ryoma is definitely a really good unit. So after talking so much, I will rank him as a Omni tank first. So as an Omni tank, I would probably put him behind Brave Byleth, because Brave Byleth, I think overall Brave Byleth is a little bit more consistent because he has the no NCD and NCD effect in his base kit, so he does not need to outsource NCD and can successfully defeat the enemies that initiate combat without needing much support. And NCD support is quite limited in this modern meta, and you really only have fallen male Lear or fallen female Lear, or even someone with the newest, not newest, but the recent emblem skill from Emblem Micaiah, the Silence Ward 4 C skill, in order to give your allies the NCD support. So those, you only have free ways of getting the NCD support, and Brave Byleth just has it in his base kit, so he does not need that support, while Attune Ryoma really needs that NCD support to excel as an Omni tank. So I would put Brave Byleth above Attune Ryoma. And of course, the S tier of course belongs to Dual Marth, who has NCD, has Vantage, even has unlimited true damage and flat DR, and has crazy support like the Fire Emblem support. And so all of the effects make Dual Marth just a tier above all other Omni tanks in the game. And of course, we're talking about non-armor Omni tanks in this tier list. And mainly, I want to point out that Vantage is a really important effect for Omni tanks right now because of nukes that just do unlimited true damage. So in order to deal against melee nukes that do unlimited true damage, you need to have Vantage in your base kit. But sadly, only Dual Marth has it, and most of the Omni tanks right now only have a lot of flat DR. I'm not saying that is bad, but they cannot perform on a similar level as Dual Marth, who has the Vantage effect and can really deal against melee nukes like Young Camilla, Harmonized Fur even, and basically all other S tier melee nukes when compared to the A tier Omni tanks. So Dual Marth deserves to be on a tier above the other Omni tanks in the game. And you may ask, oh, Ryoma also has the Vantage effect, and I only put her in B tier, and that is because Ryoma does not have enough flat DR, and she also does not have enough true damage. So if she cannot tank against both A tier or even S tier range nukes or melee nukes that have a little bit of flat DR in their base kit. For example, the latest Harmonized Fur has about 19 flat DR or even more, and Ryoma, although she has the Vantage effect in her base kit, she cannot defeat Harmonized Fur even with the Vantage. And really that just makes her a really bad Omni tank, and she also cannot have she also does not have enough flat DR to tank against both modern A tier melee nukes in the game. So really, although Ryoma has the Vantage effect, she really just loses in all other aspects, and therefore I can only put her on the top of B tier. And yeah, that is so. All in all, I think that Attune Ryoma has a little bit of flaws, but is overall still a really good unit, and I put him just behind Brave Byleth at the second top of A tier as a Omni tank. And then if you want to see the other base stats of other Omni tanks, I have them listed here, and you can take a look. And then if you really want to use Attune Ryoma as a melee nuke, and then I can give you this tier list as a reference. Attune Ryoma really relies on the reflective damage, and relies on triggering his special in order to do damage. But if he actually can trigger his special, then he is doing a lot of damage. He has 50 true damage from the special true damage in his base kit. But you also need to consider that most enemies have a lot of special flat DR in their base kit, and so that would make Attune Ryoma's special true damage just lowers. It will make it lower because most enemies have special flat DR. So you need to consider that as well. So in the end, Attune Ryoma is still only relying on the reflective damage in order to actually nuke enemies, and that can be quite consistent in the modern meta, but I don't know whether IS would like to release more Vantage units. But then again, Vantage units also make Attune Ryoma's reflective damage even more OP. What I mean is, I don't know if IS wants to release more units like Emblem Ike that really forces you to have the desperation effect. If IS suddenly releases a lot more Emblem Ike units that give you the force desperation effect, then Attune Ryoma would really drop a tier as a melee nuke and maybe go into B tier because he cannot make use of his reflective damage in his base kit. But I really don't think there will be a lot of units that force you with the force desperation effect. So Attune Ryoma definitely holds a place in A tier as a melee nuke, but I rank him as the lowest in the A tier, lowest unit in the A tier, because I think all of the other units in the A tier melee nuke tier list performs more consistently and does not need to trigger their specials in order to get the true damage in their base kit. So I really think that the other melee nukes in A tier in this tier list perform more consistently in nuking than Attune Ryoma. So I would put Attune Ryoma at the bottom of A tier for this tier list. And you can take a look at my melee nuke tier list guidelines here, and you can also take a look at the melee nuke basic stats for your reference here. And then we will talk about Rearm Hinoka. So Rearm in Hinoka is a speed type nuke, melee nuke, and is also a lance flyer. And she has a new arcane lance, Arcane Crimson, that only gives some true damage, some flat DR, pre-impulse, healing, and some drive debuff effects that give attack speed defense -5 for foes within 3 rows and 3 columns. And really that is not enough support effect for a modern weapon, but I guess it is an arcane weapon, so IS doesn't want the new arcane weapon to be very OP, so maybe that's why they release a mid weapon like this. I don't know, but basically the newest arcane lance from Rearmed Hinoka is kind of mid in terms of modern standards, and but if you take a look at all other inheritable lances that we have now, you would realize that the only other good lance is the Johanna Lance Plus from Johanna Saber, and that is already a while ago. And Johanna's Lance Plus also does not give a lot of true damage, but it gives the reflective damage effect, and it also gives more supportive effects like giving dodge to allies within 2 spaces. And the support effects from the Johanna Lance, which is a free weapon you can get from the Grail shop, is definitely, I think it's a little bit better than the newest Arcane Crimson Lance from Rearmed Hinoka. So really I think that there aren't enough good lances, inherable lances in the game right now. And if you compare the inherable lances we have in the game and compare them to modern unit weapons, then you would realize that, oh, lances really needs an upgrade quickly. And unfortunately, Rearm Hinoka does not give the upgrade to lances that lances desperately needs. So unfortunately, Rearm Hinoka does not have a good lance, and we also don't have enough other good lances, inheritable lances to choose from. So we are only stuck with this mid weapon, mid lance from Rearm Hinoka. And so let's talk about the other stuff that Rearm Hinoka has. So Rearm Hinoka has 36 true damage, maximum of 36 true damage, which is okay, pretty good. I think it's pretty good when you take a look at that in modern standards. And she also has some flat DR, 18 flat DR plus 40% unpierceable DR, and she also has some special flat DR as well. But if you compare her amount of flat DR to modern standards, modern melee nuke standards, then you would realize that 18 flat DR is kind of low, and it's not on the same level as the recent melee nukes like Brave Byleth or even Harmonized Fur. And Harmonized Fur has the same flat DR as Rearm Hinoka, but she has unlimited true damage, and Rearm Hinoka only has a capped true damage at only 36. So there's a huge difference between the two units, and yeah, they really are not comparable. And Rearm Hinoka has way less flat DR than even Legendary Diamant, who I say is a little bit mid. And you can see that Rearm Hinoka does not have a very good base stats. And Rearm Hinoka is unfortunately not a really good melee nuke. And let's take a look at the other stuff she has in her base kit. She also has the support effect, the drive support effect of giving. She gives drive and drive piercing for allies, and she also gives drive do all to allies within 3 rows and 3 columns. But technically, it's a debuff. But okay, so I'll explain it again. Rearm Hinoka gives the drive debuffs on foes within 3 rows and 3 columns, and she inflicts the attack speed defense minus 10, 50% piercing, and nullifies their stat bonuses during combat for foes within 3 rows and 3 columns. And therefore, I say this is kind of a support effect to allies within 3 rows and 3 columns. But yeah, there's a minor difference, and I thought I should explain a little bit more clearly. And so that is all for her support effects. And if you compare her support effects to modern units like Brave Byleth or Harmonized Fur, or maybe like the recent Arena Marth or Lucina, then you will see that Rearm Hinoka really does not have a lot of support effects that she can give out at start of turn or as a drive debuff effect. So even her support is a little bit lacking, but her main special thing is that she has the new OP B skill, Air Superiority, and the Air Superiority B skill gives the pass and Celica warping, and even gives the potent 40% in all of that in the B skill. And of course it also gives true damage as well based on speed or defense. So this OP B skill for range 1 non-dragon or non-beast flyers is really good, and this is the main thing that makes Ryoma Hinoka worth summoning for, because her father is really good. Her father, she has Blue Skies for, which is the best A skill for any flyer or any range 1 cavalry unit in the game right now, and she also has the newest B skill, Air Superiority, and the bridge fodder for Air Superiority B skill is actually aerobatics free, which is quite easy to get if you have some older units in the game. Like I've looked at it before, and I think one of the Ninos has the aerobatics free in their base kit, so you can fodder a 5-star. I forgot which Nino, but a 5-star. I think it was base Nino, like the normal version of Nino, but I don't know. So if you have a 5-star version of base kit Nino, then you can fodder her to a new flyer that you want to get the newest B skill, Air Superiority. Then you would have the bridge fodder for Air Superiority, and you can inherit Blue Skies for that use 4 inherit slots and 1 inherit slot for the newest OP B skill, Air Superiority, and you can give these best A skill and B skill for your favorite flyer unit, and that is what makes Ryoma Hinoka good as a fodder bank. So basically, Ryoma Hinoka is kind of mid as a unit, as a melee nuke, but she really shines as a fodder bank because she has the newest OPB skill, and she also has the latest best A skill that flyers can get, or even cavalry units as well. So let's continue talking about Ryoma Hinoka's base kit. So as I said before, she has Blue Skies 4, so she has Canto 2, and she has Potent 100% because of her private C skill. She has no follow-up, and basically that's all that she has in her base kit. And if you compare the amount of effects she has to modern melee nukes, then you will see that Ryoma Hinoka really does not have a lot of support effects or even a lot of effects for herself. So, but she does have the pass and Celica warping from the newest B skill, Air Superiority. So her range is very good, and she is also a flyer, so she really has a lot of range, and she could be a decent melee threat. But the main thing is that she really does not have a lot of flat DR, and her true damage is quite good. But with that amount of flat DR, then she is quite fragile, and she might not be able to deal with any type of vantage units, or she might not be able to tank against modern melee saves like Brave Ekvamir, for example. And she definitely cannot defeat Brave Ekvamir within her first 2 attacks. If you take a look at, she only has 45 true damage, so being able to deal with Brave Ekvamir is out of the question for Ryoma Hinoka. And even though she has Celica warping and pass, and she has a lot of range basically, but her damage output and her flat DR is pretty mid, and she is not a very OP melee nuke in the game, and you would mainly just use her for a really good fodder bank. And then after talking about her base performance, and I would let you guys take a look at how I rank her as. So first I will rank her arcane lance in the inheritable lance tier list. So I've ranked her arcane crimson lance as the top of S tier, no, as the bottom of S tier, just behind Johanna Lance Plus from Johanna Saber, because I think that although Arcane Crimson gives flat DR, gives okay flat DR and okay true damage, while the Johanna Lance does not give true damage and only gives 7 flat DR, I think that Johanna Lance Plus from Saber gives the more support than the Arcane Crimson Lance, such as the dodge support, the attack speed support, and I think there was some other effect in there, but I forgot. And basically, I think that Johanna Lance Plus gives more support than Arcane Crimson, and it also gives out the better effect, the reflective damage effect, when compared to Arcane Crimson, which only gives true damage, flat DR, and maybe slaying. Yeah, Arcane Crimson has slaying, so while Johanna Lance does not. So the only thing that Arcane Crimson has is slaying and some true damage and flat DR and some other not important effects, while Johanna Lance Plus gives good support effects, better supportive, more supportive effects than the Arcane Crimson Lance, and it also gives the reflective damage effect in the weapon. So I think that reflective damage is more powerful, is a much more powerful effect than just some stats or even slaying that Arcane Crimson can give in the Inheritable Lance. And also, Arcane Crimson is a more expensive fodder than Johanna Lance Plus because you can get Johanna Saber from the Grail shop, and you do not need to spend orbs to get the Arcane rearmed hero on a specific banner, and you can get Johanna Saber anytime if you have enough Grails in the Grail shop. So Johanna Lance is you can get Johanna Lance at a cheaper price normally, and it's more easier to get, and it also gives the better effect, reflective damage. So all in all, I think that I would prefer Johanna Lance Plus over the newest Arcane Crimson, but Arcane Crimson definitely still has some use cases, and you can choose between the two. And yeah, that is why I rank Rearm Hinoka's weapon at the bottom of S tier. And as you can see, there are only two tiers in this tier list, either S or F tier, because there really are no good lances that we have in the game right now, and all of the lances, inheritable lances, are just severely outdated, and they either do not give any true damage and flat DR, or just give very little of either one of them. So really, you can only choose between Johanna Lance and Arcane Crimson right now for the inheritable lance, and I hope there will be better inheritable lances in the upcoming future. And then, if you want to know how will Rearm Hinoka do against the modern melee nuke, then you can take a look at my melee nuke tier list here, and you can see I rank Rearm Hinoka just behind Legendary Diamant and above Bright Larce. And I ranked Rearm Hinoka at the middle of B tier behind Legendary Diamant, because Rearm Hinoka really just does not have as much flat DR as all other units that are above her in the melee nuke tier list. And although she has good true damage, she has 35 true damage, about 35 true damage, and she can perform better than Bright Larce and Emblem America, but her lack of flat DR really just puts her away from the better performing melee nukes in the game, and such as Harmonized Ingrid, Young Camilla is not a good example, such as Harmonized Ingrid, Brave Byleth, Mythic Elm, and even Legendary Diamant, who all have at least 10 more flat DR, about 10 more flat DR, and just has more other supportive effects and better supportive effects than Rearm Hinoka, who only gives out the piercing, support and some debuff supports, etc. And really, although Ryoma Hinoka has the 5 spaces past warping, and she does not need the Celica ring, but her damage output and her flat DR just doesn't make her a really good melee, really top tier melee nuke. And even though she has the best A skills and B skills, she does not have a good lance. She does not have a good weapon, and that's what makes her really not the best as a melee nuke. So really the main problem is that she does not have OP weapon. That's what I want to say. And yeah, Ryoma Hinoka unfortunately is only a B tier melee nuke, and you can take a look at my melee nuke tier list guidelines here to know how I rank these, to learn better about how I rank these, and you can take a look at the base stats for the units from A tier to B tier that I mentioned in the melee nuke tier list. And then we will talk about D-Mode Scarlet. So there really isn't much to talk about D-Mode Scarlet because, for one, she does not have a tier 4 skill as a D-Mode, and 2, she has a really bad inheritable axe, and her inheritable axe is just terrible. And why do I say that is because her inheritable axe doubler axe plus is basically an axe that only gives out attack defense plus 6 as a start of turn 2 spaces support, and it also only gives the bonus doubler 4 effect, and it gives 0 true damage and 0 flat ER, and it also does not give slaying. So basically there is 0 reason you would want to use this inheritable axe for any unit that you want to use in the modern meta, and her weapon is just trash, period. Her weapon is literally just trash, and you have no reason to use this weapon in the modern meta if you want to be anywhere competitive or even want to have a little bit of enjoyment in the game. Then you would not want to use this axe, definitely. And other than that, she really, even her tier 3 skills are not that important, such as the Wyvern Rift 3, and I forgot what is her A skill, but those 2 skills, tier 3 skills, are not even good bridge fodder skills for meta skills that we have in the game right now. So even her tier 3 skills are not desirable, and the only reason you would want to get D-Mode Scarlet is because you like Scarlet, and this is her first appearance in FEH. So if you're a Scarlet fan, then you would, yeah, definitely you should summon her. But if you're not a Scarlet fan, or you just don't even know who she is, then you have no reason to summon her. Yeah, that is the truth. You really have no reason to summon for D-Mode Scarlet, and you do not want her to pity break you as a 5-star. If you get D-Mode Scarlet as a 5-star unit, then GG, you just got pity broken and will never recover. And yeah, I rank her inheritable axe as F tier because it does not give any true damage or any flat DR, and it does not even give slaying. So basically, and you can feel the gap between the latest arena axe, latest arena Shu Lane, the axe that the latest hero, D-Mode hero arena Shu Lane has. Like arena axe plus from arena Shu Lane is just so much better than this D-Mode Scarlet axe, the doubler axe plus. And you can feel the difference between them. Like, it's only the last banner, then how can this axe be so bad? I really don't understand why does IS hate Scarlet so much, but okay, I will never know. And basically, again, you really have no reason to summon for Demo Scarlet unless you are a Scarlet fan and Scarlet is your favorite character. So you only will summon Demo Scarlet for that reason. And she belongs in F tier. Her Inheritable X belongs in F tier, and as a character, yeah, you can definitely rank her character higher because she is not a bad character in Fire Emblem Fates, but her axe and as a unit, definitely F tier. Definitely needs a lot of help and needs a lot of support and rebuilding if you really want her to use her in the modern meta. And then finally, we will talk about Entwined Ash. So Entwined Ash is a new hero type, Entwined Heroes, that basically gives the banquet and S plus support to allies that receive the banquet. So, and I mentioned in the start of the video that Entwined Heroes aren't really that good, and I also mentioned that Entwined Ash is mid as an Omni tank and is also not the best support unit in the game. So I will explain in more detail now why that is. So let's take a look at Entwined Ash's base stats right now. So Entwined Ash has about 29 true damage and 7 special true damage in her base kit, and she also has 29 flat DR plus 40% unpierceable DR and 11 special flat DR, which is pretty good as an Omni tank, but it can definitely be higher. And she also has her supportive sorry. So for her supportive effects, she gives out Imbue, which is very good. And she also gives out Dull Awe and Resonant Shields, which are okay but not important. And she also gives out free spaces, dry free spaces, 7 flat DR support, Briar effect, and the Briar effect support, as well as attack defense res plus 5 during combat. So the Briar effect support from Entwined Ash is definitely very good. And it is very unique to Entwined Ash because no one else gives out the Briar effect support in the game right now. But because Briar effect is basically just 40% reflective damage on foe's first attack, so really the Briar effect is actually super outclassed by the reflex status from Legendary Black Knight. And also Legendary Black Knight is also just a way better unit than Entwined Ash, and yeah, sadly Entwined Ash is severely outclassed by Legendary Black Knight. And then we will move on. And then we will move on and continue looking at Entwined Ash's base kit. So Entwined Ash also has guaranteed follow-up attacks, a defense check hardy bearing, no guard, no cooldown +1, distant counter, and she also has the Lagoose Friend 4 and the easier transformation effect, so she will basically always transform even if defending in Ether Raids. And she also has Omni Guidance 4 like other other versions of Ash, and she also has the Bulwark effect, which are all pretty good effects, but nothing really too outstanding. And she also gives out the Briar effect to herself if she is within free spaces of an ally. And she also has a new special Flame Wall, which is basically a defense version of Ice Wall. So that is good, but then again, I want to point out that Entwined Ash is just a little bit mid in terms of modern standards, and she definitely isn't someone you need to have to keep up with the modern meta. You can definitely survive in the modern meta without Entwined Ash, and her gimmick, the Entwined hero gimmick, is also very niche, and it's not so. It doesn't impact the meta a lot, and that is why I rank the Entwined heroes at C tier. So you can see that Entwined heroes really do not impact the game a lot, and it's mainly for collection purposes. If you want to flex an S plus support with your favorite unit, or other like, or if you want to flex an S plus support between two of your allies or two of your favorite heroes, then sure, you can definitely get an Entwined Ash to play around with that. But if you only care about the Fey meta and you only care about playing competitive game modes in Fey and staying to be rank 1 in Arena, etc., then you can definitely skip Entwined Ash. And so I would rank Entwined Ash in the bottom of, not the bottom of B tier, but as the second lowest unit in B tier as an Omni tank. And why would I rank her this low? Because the main reason I rank her this low is because she does not have enough flat DR. She only has 29 flat DR, and which is okay, which is pretty good, but it definitely isn't that good. And if you compare her amount of flat DR to units like Attune Ryoma, and even Brave Byleth, or even just legendary Diamond, then you would realize the gap between these units, and you would realize that Entwined Ash has about 10 less flat DR, or maybe 10 less special flat DR than the units in A tier, and she also does not have Miracle or any other really outstanding effects that make her more bulky. And yes, she has Hardy Bearing, which is very good, and she also gives out the imbue support to herself and allies, but she does not have no CD. She does not have no counter disrupt again as an Omni tank, so she really cannot perform. She cannot consistently defeat enemies if they initiate combat against her, if they have the wind sweep effect or other effects that stop enemy counterattacks. So really, Entwined Ash is not the best Omni tank in the game right now, and there are definitely better options for Omni tanking if you want to use someone as an Omni tank. And that is why I only put her in B tier and even lower than Rearmed Machia, because at least Rearmed Machia has Vantage and can tank young Camilla quite consistently because of Vantage, and Twin Ash definitely stands no chance against any S tier melee nukes in the game, and she also does not stand a chance against most A tier melee nukes in the game unless she is very well supported, etc. So I only rank her in B tier as an Omni tank, and you can take a look at the basic stats for Omni tanks that I mentioned in the tier list here. And I also want to point out that although Entwined Ash is quite good as a supportive unit, but I did not make a supportive tier list here because I think it's really hard to rank supportive heroes based on their supportive effects, because there's a different kinds of support. Really depends, how it is very hard to define what kind of support is better than one another, because each type of support is unique to that hero. Very often is quite unique to that hero, and you really need to choose your the kind of support you want according to your needs. So I did not include a tier list for supportive effects in the game here in this video. So for my final thoughts on the banner, overall I think this is a good value banner because it is freely sparkable, and Attuned Ryoma and Rearmed Hinoka are both pretty good units to grab from the banner, because Attuned Ryoma is a really great Omni-Tank and a great melee nuke, and Rearmed Hinoka has really OP fodder such as Blue Skies 4 and Air Superiority. So these two units are the main units to grab, and they also have really good fodder bank potential because they are attuned heroes and rearmed heroes. And not to mention that I think I mentioned this before, but yeah, this banner is freely sparkable for at least 2 times, I think, and it is very useful for free-to-play players that want to get really good skills quickly. And if you really want to stack up your fodder banks, then this banner is actually not a bad banner for you to summon on. But however, as I mentioned it in the start of the video, the emblem banner is coming just about a week later, and you should definitely manage your orbs well in order to save some orbs to summon for the latest emblem hero. And I think that would be Emblem Roy, but then again, I'm not sure. So in conclusion, I think you should try to save enough orbs to wait until the end of the month emblem banner comes out, and then decide on which banner you want to summon on, because the latest arena banner featuring Harmonized Fur and Arena Crom and Arena Lucina or Marth are all really good units as well, and even better units than the units in this banner. So you might want to summon on the arena banner instead if the emblem hero turns out to be kind of mid. So then, and yeah, I really think that you should save enough orbs in order to have a choice at the end of the month, instead of using up all your orbs on one banner right now and losing the opportunity to choose between which banners to spend on. And yeah, that is my recommendation to you all, and I hope, and that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and subscribe to see more videos like this. Goodbye.